Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I just want to say thanks for popping in to watch my video. In today's video, we'll be discussing an important topic that affects everyone, which is understanding your NHS payslip. Your payslip provides valuable information about your earnings, your deductions, and other important details related to your salary. After working so hard at work, it's very important that you are paid correctly. So let's dive right in and decode the mystery behind your NHS payslip. This is going to be a step-by-step guide. Therefore, I am going to break down the payslip into various sections. But before we get into the nitty-gritty, let's take a moment to understand what a payslip actually is. A payslip is a document that employers provide to their employees, typically on a monthly basis, detailing the financial aspects of their employment. So it's a summary of your salary, deductions, taxes, and any other payments you receive from your employer. We're going to shortly look at the various parts of the payslip and the parts that you should pay close attention to so that you ensure that you pay the right taxes and you are paid correctly. At the topmost section of your payslip, you find the following information. The first is an assignment number. So that is a number that is peculiar to you, and this should be quoted in all correspondence and will be suffixed with 1 or 2 if you have more than one post. The next is employee name, which should be your full name. Next is your location, that's where exactly you're working. Next is the department, which is the specific department you are working in the facility. Your job title as well. So in this sample, we can see that the job title for this individual is the staff nurse, who is band 5 in the emergency department. Then there's also the pay scale description as well, which will detail your band or your level. So, for instance, if you're a registrar, it will tell whether you are a specialty registrar in the first year or in the second year or in the third year, and so on. Then there is the salary or wage, which is your full time salary for your grade. Then there's also the INC date. That is the date of your next pay step or increment, or when you reached the maximum point of your pay scale. The next is the standard hours, which is your standard contracted hours, and this would be in your job contract. Then there's the PT salary or wage. This is a salary paid to you, and this shows as a reduced amount if you are part time. But as we can see here, the person is being paid 31,534, which is the same as what's in the salary or wage section, meaning this person is possibly doing a full time job. But the PT salary or wage section would have been reduced, for instance, if the person was less than full time. Next is the tax office name. The tax office name tells you about the tax office that is responsible for your employer's tax account. Then there is the tax office reference, and this is required if you need to speak to HMRC. So you should take note of that, especially if you call HMRC to discuss anything regarding your payslip with them. Then there's a tax code. The tax code is a code as allocated by HMRC. We'll talk more about the tax code because you should always ensure that you have the right tax code so that you are not overtaxed. We'll talk more about it in depth so you know whether or not you have the right tax code. And if you don't have the right tax code, you need to ring HMRC and discuss with them so that it is rectified. Then, lastly, there is the NI number, and that is your national insurance number. So, you should have a close look at all these details on your payslip and ensure that everything is correct so that you don't find yourself wanting in future. Diving into the tax code, there are numbers and letters in your tax code. The numbers in your tax code tells your employer or pension provider how much tax-free income you get in that tax year. Diving into the tax code, there are numbers and letters in your tax code. The numbers in your tax code tells you. So for instance, if your tax code is 1257L, which is the tax code currently used for most people who have one job or pension, it means that £12,570 out of your total income will not be taxed in that tax year. Now, this part is very important, which is emergency tax codes. If you are on an emergency tax code, your payslip will show 1257W1 or 1257M1 or 1257X. This means that you are paying tax on all your income above the basic personal allowance, which shouldn't happen. The reasons why you may be put on an emergency tax code is if the HMRC does not get your income details in time after a change in your circumstances, such as if you started a new job, if you're working for an employer after being self employed, or if you're getting company benefits or the state pension, you would have an emergency tax code. If you find this on your payslip, what you need to do is to ring the HMRC and discuss with them so that it can be rectified. Otherwise, you'd always get reduction in your payment of salary and you end up being paid less than you should. One of the reasons why people end up underpaying or overpaying tax is because of errors in their tax code. Therefore, it's very important to have a look at your payslip and ensure that you are being taxed correctly. Also, if you're starting a new job, it's very, very important to give your employer your P45 from your previous job. If you do not have a P45, your employer should ask you for the information they need instead. So it's very important to discuss this with your employer at the beginning of your new role. If you have been working for an employer after being self employed, your employer should give you a starter checklist, and this is a form you can use to give them details about your previous employment. A link to the various tax codes will be in the description area. It will lead you to the HMRC website where you can find all tax codes and what they mean, and you can find out whether what is on your payslip reflects your situation. Diving into the pay and allowances section, there's a description which tells you details of all payments made in the pay period. Then there's also the WKD or earned section, which tells you the total number of hours that you've worked. Then the paid or due, that tells you the number of hours payment is calculated on. Then the rate tells you the amount the allowance is calculated on, for example, hourly rates. Then the amount, which is the payments that will be made for each item listed in the description area. In the deduction section, there is the PAYE, which is the tax paid in that month, the NIA, which is the national insurance contributions paid in that month, and the NHS pension, which is the pension contributions paid in that month. For those who opt out of NHS pensions, NHS pension deduction would not be made and will not be seen on the payslip. Year-to-date balances section. So this section shows the total amounts you have received and had deducted in the current tax year to the end of the period you are being paid for. PAYE details will be included in your P60 at the end of the tax year. Pension details will be added to your NHS pension record. Then the SD ref number is your employee reference number for your NHS pension and should be quoted in any correspondence you have with NHS pensions. Now this period summary shows the total amounts you have received and had deducted in the current pay period, and it includes details of the date you'll be paid, how you'll be paid, and how much you'll be paid, which is your net pay. So in this sample pay slip, the net pay is 2,268.51. Therefore, this individual should expect to receive 2,268.51 in his or her bank account. I hope you found this video informative. If you currently work in the NHS, it will be a good idea to go back and have a look at your payslip if you haven't already done so, and check all the sections and ensure that everything is correct. If you're a prospective NHS worker, if you're new to the NHS, or you're just curious to know what the NHS payslip looks like, I hope this has answered all the questions that you have. If you have any questions as well, feel free to drop it in the comment section. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this channel if you haven't. See you in my next video. Bye now.